welcome back, traders and investors. We have a veteran trader on the line, Sang Lucci, founder and head trader at sanglucci.com. How you doing on this Monday morning?
What's up? What's up? I'm all right. I'm all right. It's a brisk morning in Boston. That's
Okay.
about it.
All right. Last time we had you on, you were making some bullish calls. We had a lot of volatility, but the buy the dippers just come keep saving this market, rallying us back again to the 1970 level. How have you been dealing with the recent volatility?
Honestly, guys, I haven't been trading. I have been sitting on my hands after taking some losers. Pretty much around the same time that we were talking. I mean, I was trying to fade Netflix for the longest time, and as you can see, that Netflix is not trying to go down at all.
Okay.
It's just a battle to Netflix. It's up another $6 here this morning there, and obviously you're going to report earnings there tomorrow night. But it's just been a battle for the shorts all around. Saying Lucci, I got to say the same thing. Every time I try to short this market, I get
Yeah.
punished for it. It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, that's the whole bias that comes out. I mean, every single time I sit there and I short Netflix, I might get a couple points in my favor, but you just see the dip buyers coming back on that tape. And if your bias is too much and you're holding on to that, it'll hurt you. It will hurt you.
Was it something you were seeing in the technicals on it that I mean,
No, again, just tape. So if all of a sudden I see some sellers some kind of weak activity and just hitting bids, I'll usually hop in front of that. Plus, if she's on a 100-point run, I might get sort of a cascade effect here, and everybody will kind of get scared and start taking profits. But again, that never happened, and there was always that dip buy around the corner. And again, if you're too biased, you'll end up being stubborn and sticking around for a lot longer than you should be.
Now you do a lot of your position trading through options, correct, Sang?
Absolutely.
Now, can you tell us, because we have a lot of obviously traders here that like to trade the stocks, and some other traders like to trade options as well. Like, how do you approach it? Like, if you get a bearish call on Netflix, do you start buying out of the money puts on it, or do you buy at the money? How do you approach it from an options perspective?
It really depends. It really depends on what kind of market and then what the tape is allowing for. So, for example, on that Netflix, if you get a 100-point run, when she's ready to sell, you're looking at 20 points easy. So
Yeah.
so going out of the money, is not that bad of an idea. Now the issue is more alongside with the expirations. Should you play a weekly? Should you give yourself a couple of weeks? Should you give yourself a month? So depending on the timing, I would focus more on the expiration versus, the out of the money in the money thing.
So you like to give yourself enough time for the trade to work out for you?
And it really depends. If you're in a dip buy environment and your window is going to be extremely small, then yeah, play a weekly for the day and go back to the dip buy for a couple of weeks.
right. And well, now you have you mentioned a very important thing here about a catalyst. And before you
Right.
were looking at it based on the technicals. Now you have a potential catalyst with
The
with the
earnings
earnings
call.
coming out. Does it make you? I mean, maybe not putting on your full lot, but sometimes after I get beat up in a trade, and
Yep.
I say, you know what, I'm just actually my dad used to call that like a $2 saver at the racetrack, and that's when you put $2 on a long shot. And if it comes in, you make good money. But if not, then you just lose $2. Are you looking for something like that, or have you moved on from Netflix?
No, to be honest, I mean, I never play earnings. I mean, that's one thing that I will never touch,
Okay.
just because, like, it's a bet at the end. It really is a
Right.
bet at the end of the day. It's 50-50 shot. I mean, it doesn't matter if the earnings are good. If the stock has already rallied too much, people are going to sell the news anyway. So, there could be all kinds of things that happen for earnings. So I stay the hell away from that. But as far as the catalyst for something to happen, yeah, definitely. So I think Netflix for this week after the earnings comes out is going to be extremely juicy.
What else is on your radar here, Lucci?
I would say, names like these social networks again. I would also say the banks definitely. So the banks have finally put in some action that has been very interesting. So Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, If you look at these things for the last 10 days, they've gapped up like every single day. Obviously, we
Yep.
had the bank earnings last week. So that action is definitely different. And we haven't seen a rotation in the banking sector for a long time. All of these stocks have done absolutely nothing for months. So could it be the time for the banks? Who knows?
That's a great point because this market, it always seems like even when we get a sell-off, the money doesn't seem to rotate out of the stocks altogether. They always
No,
rotate into something else.
indeed.
And I always say, like, you're not going to get that big sell-off until you start seeing selling across the board, and you
Right.
never see it. Like on my screen, I've always got it all broken up by sectors, and it's always moving into something else. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but you're right. The money has been flowing into the banks here. Is there any other sectors you're seeing it flowing into?
I like the credit cards too, to be honest. Like the Visa, the Mastercard, that AXP. I like those names, and then continually, you have these high flyers, so it just kind of rotates in and out of these names. So the Google, or the Google, this thing is starting to come back. This thing is now over $600. So you're talking about a split here, and now the stock is retracing completely. And then really, who knows where this thing can go?
Lucci, I've been keeping an eye on Twitter and Facebook, and
Yep.
for the early part of the month, they were kind of going in lockstep together, and they were
Yeah.
both rallying. And now the Twitter has really faded, while Facebook has
Right.
continued to move higher. Are you leaning towards picking up the Twitter, based on this, or selling the Facebook?
Yeah, and again, this is that whole rotation thing. So not only do you get rotation within sectors, or sorry, to different sectors, now you get rotations within sectors. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at a dog of the sector, so to speak, I would take a look at that LinkedIn. That LinkedIn hasn't performed like either one of the two. So, you could catch a nice dip on this and possibly get out at around 170 where she was consolidating before, so absolutely I would rotate and start playing, the different names.
Yeah,
The
that's
LinkedIn chart's really interesting,
yeah.
actually, because if you look in the beginning of June, I see what you're looking at. You kind of had this whole consolidation thing, 6, 7
Yep.
days. We almost had the exact same chart setup happening here again
Yep.
right now, and it obviously had a big run up to 170 in June. So that's what you're looking at too there, Len Lucci.
Exactly. She never came back. Like I remember the market sold off at one day and money and every single one of the high flyers just tanked and she never came back from it. Every single one of the other stocks came back. This is the only one that didn't. So, you could catch a nice one here too. I'm also looking at that Chipotle, of course. This Chipotle's got earnings tonight too. So this is going to be a big one too. This one's been consolidating for a
Wow.
month now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking about another 20, 30-point run, whatever trend she decides to go on.
Would you ever try strangling something like this, or just the premiums are just too outrageous?
Honestly, with a situation like this, yeah, that would be the best. That would be the best way to play it. But again, I absolutely hate playing earnings. I absolutely hate doing it. So I always wait until after. But looking at a chart like this, or like a name like that LinkedIn, for example, absolutely. Those strangles can go a long way. Plus, you can get out of the side that's just not working, provided you're reading what you need to read.
You've been playing that GoPro at all? We got 5 analyst moves here on it this morning. The quiet period's expired, so lots of them chirping up here. Stocks obviously had a hell of a run when it first pulled back here now, and now you've kind of got the consolidation for a few days. You getting down and dirty in the GoPro?
I honestly cannot believe this freaking thing is where it is. I really can't believe it. So I just pulled up the options chain and they've already opened up the weeklies for this thing. They're already opening up the six weeks in advance for the weeklies on this. So I'm actually just starting to take a look at how active the options chain is. I don't know. Have you guys been watching it? Do you know if it's active or not?
I mean, the stock is definitely active.
The stock is. But again, what's the average share she trades on a daily basis?
Let me take a look
Oh,
at it.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
been doing it's got to be up in 20 million, 10, 20 million.
Yeah, so if it's 10, 20 million, I mean, these options should probably be moving pretty well. And they got half strikes on these things too. So this is like another Twitter essentially. Provided the volume's good. So this actually could be a really nice trade on the options.
It has days where the big issue will dip over get over 10 million, and then it seems to come back in like 5 million seems to be like a good
The home
market.
for it.
Yeah, for average daily volume.
Yeah, it's been
Indeed.
crazy though.
Indeed. I'll take a look at it. She's been consolidating too, so you got a whole lot of these stocks that haven't really haven't really moved. Plus, we have a market where we're consolidating right under these all-time highs. So whatever that catalyst is, whatever that day is, if we shoot over to, let's say, 200 on the SPY, you're going to be looking at a lot of continuation breakouts.
Are you looking at that from that direction? Are you thinking eventually we are going to break out here and make new highs there,
I'm
Lucci?
honestly thinking so because again, there's no catalyst for people to take profits here. We're going through this earnings season so far. We've got great earnings from Intel, so many other companies, the banks too already. If money's going to come into the banks, then you're going to look at this Bank of America over, let's say, $16, or this Wells Fargo at 53, or Goldman up another 5 points. I can't see how this market would sell off considerably from where we are. We've had plenty of washouts and shakeouts, but as far as real selling and a new trend in this market, I can't see it.
And you just mentioned the Bank America there, and that's a lower price stock. Do you have any lower besides Bank America? Are there any lower price stocks that you like to trade? And if so, do you just go right to the equity, or do you still stick with the options?
Even if it's a low price stock, again, provided it has some decent volume, I will just predominantly stick with the options. I think once I have a fund with, unlimited leverage and considerable larger capital, let's say, I'll start messing around with the equity because there's no way I could allocate that much money to just one or a consecutive sort of bunch of options. So if you're trying to allocate to a position, a couple hundred grand versus $5 million or $10 million, then it's a completely different story when you're trading options.
I wanted to get your take on Johnson and Johnson here. They came out with about as good a news as you could come out last week. They beat the street. They raised guidance. Revenue was up. Sales was up, and they took this thing out to the woodshed. I mean,
Right.
absolutely. And they're really analysts did not say much on it. Sells off like that. I mean, is it you just think people were just like the buyers were just like striking and said, okay, let you weak sellers come here and sell it, and we'll come in. And it does look like it put in a double bottom here, 10026, 10037. Do you just trade the price? Do you not try and figure out what's going on, or with
Well,
something like
again,
this?
this follows suit with what we were saying before on the earnings, man. I mean, these earnings can be awesome. They can be great. Wells Fargo earnings were great,
Yep.
and that stock was a Wall Street darling. That was a bank that just couldn't do no wrong, and they took that down a couple of points. So if let's say a stock has already been on a nice run and that earnings is already priced in, no matter how good it came out, it's like the beat was already priced in, then people are going to take it off the table. People are going to take that money off the table. And then you have to wait. You got to wait for a whole new kind of sentiment to build up in that stock before you just go ahead and buy dips. Like honestly, I'm looking at this Johnson and Johnson. She might just consolidate down here for another week or so before those dips are being bought again.
Oh,
But if that's the best news that she could come out with, and it can't get any better than that, then why would people be willing to continue pricing that thing higher?
okay. All right. We've had Sang Lucci, a veteran trader, founder and head trader at sanglucci.com, giving us his insight into the markets, low price stocks, high price stocks. He covers it all with his options trading. Sang Lucci, thanks for coming on. We hope to speak to you again soon.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, Lucci.